Good afternoon. Day 44, and I'm on the shores of Crescent Lake. I'm taking an alternate from Shelter Cove en route to Crater Lake. Based on the number of NoBo thru hikers I'm seeing, probably 90% of thru hikers take this one as well. Cuts off several miles of the PCT that may or may not have much going for it, and it goes by some of these lakes, including Crescent Lake. And I hope to get in Crescent Lake here pretty shortly. But I want to review a little bit yesterday, because as I was hiking along this morning, that's what I was thinking about. So I had a mismatch between my expectations and what reality occurred. So I had always heard of Shelter Cove as a place that people, thru hikers, would congregate at. They would hang out. They had these, tents, and it was wonderful. And they'd go swimming and this and that, and they'd get a chance to resupply. Now, I remember going to Shelter Cove 4 years ago, but I was the only one there. I mean, it was November. they had shut down all the support for the hikers, but I was expecting much more sort of support and an atmosphere, at least amongst the thru hikers there. And what happened? But I did hear that their resupply was very, very expensive and relatively poor. Okay, so I followed the advice and gut hooks, hitched a ride down into this convenience store at a gas station, and aside from the food, the one thing that I really need was some ISO-Pro fuel canister for my stove. Well, they didn't even stock that, and also the resupply wasn't that great. I mean, they didn't have things like packs of instant oatmeal. They didn't have granola. They had no granola. I mean, kind of a lot of things that for a thru hiker would be pretty obvious things. I asked if there was a restaurant there. The fellow told me that there was a bar and they had really good food. Well, I went over and had their specialty, roasted chicken, and it was like some of the worst chicken I've ever had in my life. I don't think they put any spice, salt, pepper, paprika, onion powder, anything in the coating for the chicken. By the time I got back to Shelter Cove, they had shut down early, so it was all closed down. Couldn't get any food from their little grill. Their store was closed, so I couldn't even determine if they had any ISO-Pro fuel there available, other than sort of peering through the window. And it closed early, apparently, just a result of the staffing issue that many businesses have these days. They can't find people to work. So they closed early. Well, among other things, I couldn't do laundry. I couldn't take a shower. These were all coin operated, and the only coin machines were inside the store. So although the laundry is open 24 hours a day, couldn't do that. And here was sort of the other thing. I was expecting to sort of meet up with many of the people that I'd been hiking with. So Chris and Kimberly, Fireball, Double Dip, maybe even Naked Dave, Andrew, and none of them were there. It was only NoBos, with the sole exception of a girl who recognized and called me by name. I recognized her, but I couldn't remember her name. So, due to my own stupidity and sort of awkwardness, there was sort of the distance between the two of us, and everyone else was a NoBo. They all knew each other, so wave after wave of hiker came in. They all knew each other, and I didn't know anyone. here was the result. I'm not someone who experiences loneliness like most people do. I mean, literally, I can count on one hand the times in my life when I have felt loneliness. I have been on through hikes when I have gone 4 days and seen no one, and I've been okay with that. And although I was in a place that had a lot of people around, Nobos were coming in, I felt loneliness because I was expecting to meet up with, shall we say, my people and have sort of a festive atmosphere and be able to recount our recent experiences, and there was no one for me to do that with. So it was very strange. So I went to their tent camp, pitched my tent, spent the night, got up, went in 7 o'clock when they opened the store, and no isopro. No isopro. So I will talk a little bit about that. And so one of the things that I was also expecting was a pretty substantial hiker box in which I would be able to glean, because I have one of these valves that can empty one isopro can into another. And so normally at a place that has as much resupply or as many through hikers going through, there'll be a hiker box and there'll be 5, 10, 20 partially filled isopro canisters. So I wasn't too worried yesterday afternoon when I didn't find one in town, because I figured, well, I'll just top up my small canister with my valve. There were no canisters even partially filled. So this is one of the secondary effects of the snow, because all these Nobos all got sort of bunched together and all came through, and I'm now sort of in the tail end of that bubble. Certain things that you would normally expect to see, like a hiker box with a whole bunch of isopro, partially filled isopro canisters, there weren't any. And I try to think of myself as being a charitable person, but in my thoughts this morning, I had some uncharitable thoughts that the land here, at least the landscape that supports many of the through hikers going through, due to the Nobo bubble, it's like picked clean. It's almost like there was a swarm of locusts that had gone through and taken everything, and right now there isn't much. So anyway, that's where we are. That's where I am, not we. That's where I am. My attitude is better today, but it is a hot day. I'm looking forward very much to getting into this lake. I don't think I'm going to go in right here. This is really like a boat ramp kind of thing. That's not really a beach, although it is sandy. I'm going to go down the lake. I definitely need to get in the water and get cool. I do know there's going to be a little bit of a climb coming out of here. It's going to be several miles down there, but I'm not sure how much water is in this stretch. I do know that there is a water cache where this blue line trail meets up again with the PCT. So apparently that stretch is a little dry this time of year. So kind of several thoughts here. What happened yesterday, loneliness, and sort of the situation of where we are with resupply options here. My next resupply is going to be in Crater Lake, where I am having a box sent And you know, maybe I can meet up with some of the SoBos that I know, shall I say. But I'm gonna have to wait and see how many miles I can get out. And if I hang out here at the lake too much longer, that number of miles is going to be fewer. Coming up on the end of this alternate. Wow, you can tell from my voice, I'm sure, how dry I am. I haven't had any water in about 7 miles or so. There's supposed to be a cache here where it rejoins the PCT. And I see some hikers, and I see some bottles. So let's see what's happening. There's some cars here too. Okay.